Welcome to the Cleaning Up Business Podcast. My name's Chris Guilfoyle and I'm going to be your host. In every episode, we're hoping to bring you industry leaders from a wide variety of service sectors, disruptors within their industry, and day-to-day entrepreneurs with some business and life lessons for you guys to take away. Let's jump in to today's episode.
I turned golf pro at 18. I just wanted to earn as much money as possible and I didn't really care about how. This has to be your last attempt. If not, promise me you'll go and get a job or I'm going to leave you. And I was so worried, I genuinely was looking at bankrupt's options.
How does that make you feel?
I couldn't have been any lower, I don't think, in my life. I said, I wonder if you can get concentrate hand soap. I don't really tell people this is what I'm trying to achieve. I was telling people this is what I'm going to achieve. Can you help me do it?
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? What's going on?
I want this business to be here and after I'm dead. What we've got coming in the future will blow your minds.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cleaning Up Business Podcast. Today I have a rock star of the cleaning and hygiene industry. Fast and upcoming, I have Jordan Hurley from Soap2O, founder. And I'm really looking forward to this. I've been trying to pin Jordan down for some time now, and we are finally together after the Hill Club. So you'll have to bear with us if we're a little bit slow. Jordan, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks, Chris.
With all our guests, we go all the way back to the start. As I say, podcast is learning about all the journeys that the cleaning and hygiene industry has to offer. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background before Soap2O.
So realistically, I wasn't the most academic at school. My dad always said to me, actually, he's really good with a ball, any type of ball, as long as it's not at the end of a pen. Yeah. Left school and my actual main passion and focus in life was golf. Turned golf pro at 18. I know you just found that out, Chris, even though I was... you were offering me a round of golf yesterday. I wanted to keep that under the barrel.
He's going to put money on it, that's why. And then take it off me.
I turned golf pro at 18. I realised quite quickly that I was good, but not good enough. Okay. Went into the teaching side of things. And I just felt that as a person, really, with golf teaching for me at the time, it was restrictive on what your potential earnings. And I realised that.
You can only do so many clients in a day, right? Exactly
that. My ambitions at the time and still now were a lot higher than that. And as much as I love the industry, I think it also potentially, when you're in it 24/7, I had a golf shop that I had as well. Okay. So I was literally working 7 days a week in the golf industry, and it kind of ruins your hobby to a degree.
I was going to ask that. If you've got a passion that you do, like golf, and then people go, do something you're passionate about, you really enjoy it. But clearly it took the enjoyment out of that.
Well, you definitely don't want to play golf on your day off.
No, I can imagine.
So that kind of sort of, for me, but it did lead me into the retail world, which got me a taste, I guess, into business. And then over the years, especially in my early 20s, it was a bit, I would say, rogue. I tried anything and everything. It wasn't. I think probably in your 20s, I was focused on a financial goal. And
that being what? I want to earn X amount.
I just wanted to earn as much money as possible, and I didn't really care about how. Yeah. There wasn't an industry, so I had a tailored suits company that I did, and then it was like, I seen something else that could make more money. I got involved in selling replica Formula One cars. I moved to Dubai for for about 18 months on and off doing that. And it was just that stage of my life really where I just constantly took opportunities based on a financial goal with no other real aim really other than money. Yeah. And I guess I didn't realize that until a lot later on in life, that there's a lot more to business and your focus than a financial gain at the end of it. And I think when you look back on your old self, that you're probably a little bit disappointed in your focus. And it was superficial. You wanted the nicest cars. You wanted to, buy the best drinks when you were out. Technically, you wanted to pretend you were richer than you were. which I'm probably sure a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah. Easy trap to fall in, especially when you're that young.
Well, I think you end up caring way too much what other people think of you and not actually caring about the person you're trying to become, which I definitely didn't know that at the time. So for me, that's where my early sort of 20s career was definitely just jumping, to a point where my nieces were playing Snap with my different business cards that I had. And then I kind of had a bit of a lucky, when I came back from, when I was in Dubai doing the Formula One cars, the reason that came back was because I was technically working with a company building really high quality replica Formula One cars. And then I got a phone call from my dad while I was in Dubai saying, "You've got a letter from Bernie Ecclestone lawyers telling me that I've got 24 hours to shut the company down, or they're going to come after me for pretty much like a loss of earnings that they've had because my company was called Formula1Driver.co.uk, so which he owned the rights to F1 in every single way possible unless you got it signed off from him. So it was quite a quick pack your bags and come home.
And that's a man with some resource as well. So
well, the downside is that I thought it was a really good thing. I'd got my Formula One car into the Ferrari lounge in Abu Dhabi for the race.
Wow.
Which it was a high-class simulator. They were £60,000 each, these cars, that people were buying for fun, and I was installing them into their houses.
Okay.
And people were buying them for business opportunities as well, like, exhibitions and putting them on stands and stuff like that. But we were taking pieces of different, cars from previous years, from the nose and the chassis and everything else. And in the end, Bernie Ecclestone, seen my car and my company and my brochures and everything and picked it up. Next, it made a phone call and I was taken. Well, I decided not to challenge him.
Yeah, probably best.
I decided not to take Bernie on, and I came home. Yeah, on this occasion, I let him off. I came home with probably a little bit with my tail between my legs, and I had some money left, and I felt like I'd missed out a little bit. All my friends went traveling when they were younger.
Yeah.
So at 28, I decided to do a bit of traveling.
It's quite late in.
Very late. I was the oldest in every hostel in Southeast Asia and Australia. And I did that, and I sort of it was a kind of, what do I do next? It was a gap that I felt very lost.
Okay. Do you mean from like a career
everything really,
or life in general?
I was single. I'd come home, so I'm now late 20s, living back at mum and dad's, not knowing what to do next. I hadn't really settled in the UK over the years. When I did my golf, I'd gone off to Spain as well when I was like 16, 17, doing a bit of teaching out there, teaching kids through the summer, and enjoyed going to Dubai. And I just kind of it's as if something that was missing for me, I didn't really feel there was I'm very close to my family, but I think they all probably expected me to be living abroad by now, if that makes sense, full time. So I was always here, there and everywhere. And for me, I took that time out. And while I was traveling, one thing I realized was everyone, wherever you went, the main focus over food or a menu or anything was Wi-Fi. Everyone wanted Wi-Fi.
Of course, yeah.
And it was...
First thing you asked for when you go
somewhere, literally, it was and I was like, it's mad that people would literally walk in the streets looking for a good Wi-Fi hotspot. Because when you were traveling, you never had all these international packages as they are today. We can go to America and pay a $5 and have unlimited sort of usage where a day. But backpackers were only paying £8 or £6 a night anyway. So that was an extra night traveling. Yeah. So they weren't going to be willing to do that. But so it brought me to a point where when I come back, I then went on a mission to do something around Wi-Fi and aimed at the backpacking or traveling in general industry. And I approached a company called iPass in California, who had a global Wi-Fi hotspot company pretty much, but they kind of, it was more of they white labeled for a lot of people, and I just felt like I could do it a little bit different. So I set up a company called Global Connect Wi-Fi, we connected people to 64 million hotspots in 180 countries. It was a subscription-based business for $9.99 a month.
Right.
And every penny I had left went into that company. For me, it was a focus, but it was a business that I always knew was going to take a while to get off the ground. Yeah. But you get one couple of deals over the line, and you're flying. Really,
it's interesting because that's very. I'd imagine sounds very techie. So you, throughout your career so far, that you've explained to me, you're varying different industries. Are you familiar with tech? I imagine that was quite hard to get off the ground with no experience.
No, I'm as familiar with tech as much as I know how to make soap.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, sure.
Pretty
Start
much
from scratch.
Yeah. Let's just
YouTube.
Make that very clear.
Yeah.
I think for me it was all about surrounding myself in every business that I did. Surround myself with people who know the technical side of the product or the business. Yeah. And my background was always to build relationships, sell, and create a brand.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, and I did. It's quite a vulnerable. It's very vulnerable doing it that way because one, it's an easier way because you can go into anything as long as you partner with the right people.
Exactly.
But technically you don't know whether they're screwing you over or whether you're so reliant on them covering that side of the business.
Yeah.
Whoever you go into business with in whatever industry, if it is, you want to sell tampons, you got to find a company who knows how to make them. And you don't know whether they're right or not, or whether they're any good, so it's it's a difficult kind of thing because I'm very passionate. I'm a guy that I'm either all in or all out. My glass is either empty or it's overflowing.
Yeah.
So for me, and I'm like that with friends, family, and probably why I've got no friends, or at least ones that, that for me it's difficult because when you give something you're all, also it's hard because you actually, I guess, expect it back.
Yeah, sure.
Where you shouldn't. I guess I've learned recently over listening to other people on podcasts that I think it's a Jay Shetty thing where you kind of, if just because you're one type of person, it doesn't mean you can expect, you surround yourself with, you can have like-minded people around you, but you can't expect to have the people give you the same back. Like I have time anxiety and I'm late for you today. It killed me all the way here.
That's all right.
But do you know what I mean? Like genuinely that bothers me, but you can't expect other people to always be half an hour early for every meeting either.
No,
just like I would normally be.
Yeah.
I think you've got to pick out the best qualities of people that of why they're in your life.
Yeah. How did that? So the Wi-Fi company. How did that go?
So it took ages to get going because you were always working with big companies to try and do deals with. I never really had the spend. I ran out of money quite quickly to spend, and I did friends and family investments and all sorts to try and keep it going, which isn't a great idea. I'll be straight, but at the time when you're passionate about something and you believe it, and you're plowing all the money that you've got into it as well. I think pretty much out of my own money, I think about 180,000 of what I had, it was either buy a house and set myself up and do a few properties or something, or give this Wi-Fi company a really good go. And I thought, well, I can't ask other people to get involved if I've not put my whole life. Yeah. Pretty much I did. I put every penny I had. And it took so long to get going. I was really lucky that I met about 2 years into it. So I'm now about just turning 31. And I met my partner now, Laura, and I ended up moving in with her in Nottingham. And luckily, to be fair, it got to a point where I had everything on the edge of a big deal.
Yeah.
But it just
couldn't get it over the line.
Happening.
Yeah.
So she financially supported me for, probably the best part of 2.5 years.
Okay.
Which is hard because I was always doing all right.
Yeah.
I've always done okay. I've always been able to put on a persona that I'm doing a lot better than I am.
Yeah.
But
we all do that, though, don't we?
And carry that through. But the hardest thing for me was it got to a point where I had 2 deals on the table that were going to be life-changing for me. One deal was with Thomas Cook Money.
Okay.
They obviously have their money cards and their travel cards. Yeah. And I had a deal with them. And They were going to buy 500,000 worth of the vouchers.
Okay.
And they were going to give them away.
Yeah.
And then also have a link on their website. They were going to give them away for like 3 months worth. And then if people wanted to carry on after, they could continue.
And they would just put a margin on top of your pricing?
Yeah, no, they were just building it into a package. Okay. So it was kind of sort of like they were actually giving it away for free. And then I gave them money back if the people stayed on the Wi-Fi subscription. So that... We've gone through some real emotions, me and my partner. I got the deal. I came to London, which, bearing in mind, every time I was coming to London, she was lending me 100 quid for the train.
Come down.
So there was no hotels back in them days. Yeah. And you were getting off at every stop to make sure you get the cheapest ticket.
Yeah.
You know, I'd come down here to a point knowing that I'd literally have like, and I know you probably should do this anyway, but I had my sandwiches made, you know, I felt like a child going to school, you know, I had my packed lunch for her when I had, you know, it was difficult. And then I literally came home with a deal done, contract signed, you know, my missus, we were in tears pretty much.
Yeah.
It was a £500,000 deal with Thomas Cook. 3 weeks later, I woke up on a Monday morning, and we always watch the news as soon as we wake up. I'm not too sure why. It never puts us in a very good mood, but it's a terrible habit. Yeah. I always make the tea. I take a cup of tea up to my missus and wake her up with a cup of tea every morning because my dad does for my mom. I woke her up, and we turned on the news. Headline:
Bust.
Thomas Cook goes under or into administration.
How did you feel when you see that?
I cried because I knew that that would affect Thomas Cook money. And then I sent that morning, it was 6:45. I sent an email to the guy that was doing the deal, and I just got an automated email back saying he's no longer with the company. I later spoke to him via LinkedIn and got a call with him, and he said to me, "We had no idea. Everyone who signed that contract did not know that this was happening."
Yeah.
And I just, if he did know, it would be mental because he was very genuine. They were excited. We'd worked on it for 6 months of how we can make it, you know, beneficial to them.
Do you think he didn't know?
No, I don't. I don't think he did know. No, because he lost his job.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of those where I don't see where his loyalty would have been to me, to why he would. I think he'd have just gone, "Look, you need to run, mate, because this is, you know, sense. Kind of thing." If he'd have known, I just don't see why he would have done it. And and he was a good guy. I built a good relationship with him. I definitely don't think he led me down the garden path. So you build yourself up, don't you? You pick yourself up and you go again.
You've had a couple of times, by the sounds of it, you've had a couple of times in your career where things have gone south, have gone wrong.
Definitely, yeah.
How do you find you clearly got some resilience there to keep bouncing back from that? Where do you think that comes from? I
think it's because I can't, there's nothing in me that can imagine. And this is the way I'm built. One, giving up, and two, there's like, I've always just had this dream. It's like I've always wanted a successful business. And when I say a successful business, it doesn't mean it needs to turn over hundreds of millions or anything like that.
Be nice.
Just wanted to wake up and create something that gives me a wage to have the flexibility of the lifestyle that I want to live.
Yeah.
And something that I love. And that's always what I've wanted. It isn't before. I always focused on I want a yacht, I want this, I want that. And let's be fair, it's like they always say, if you can afford one, don't do it. Just get friends with one because it's a lot cheaper. So then, but leading on, what came from that was probably my worst bit after.
Okay.
It came to the Christmas. I then had one more, a company called Dragon Pass.
Yeah.
Dragon Pass do the airport lounges.
Okay.
Like Priority Pass, those kind of companies. I went to see them in Hale. Their office is there. And I said, look, you guys work with, because mainly they work with the banks and stuff like that, that when you're a priority customer or whatever, you get free access to the lounge accesses or whatever. And I said, what can we speak to the banks? And let's see if they could, we could do this with them. add it into the package. We did all the airports globally. So it was perfect. Your customers are going to walk in, we're going to connect them to Wi-Fi. What happened was you'd walk into a room, into the airport, it would literally come up and say, would you like to connect to Heathrow Airport Wi-Fi? When you clicked select, it would also give you like an extra VPN, so you give you security. Okay. So you every hotspot out there is obviously open, most of them. So this was giving you an open hotspot, turning it into a secure one as well. So they were very close. We were there. We literally had the deal done, and they were looking at for Royal Bank of Scotland, who they worked with, I believe. The black card that they did, I think it was like the NatWest or something, or one of those. They were looking at 1 million passes. So we'd done them. I spoke to my provider, iPass, and said, look, I've got potentially 1 million passes coming here. What's the best deal we can do? They're 12-month passes, etc. And we worked out the right best deal, and it ended up being that we could actually do the whole thing for it'd be about £1.5 million worth of business. And it was there. It was February, and I went to go in, and they just said, look, we're just going to do a little bit more testing. We've given out all the passes to our global team. Yeah. Let us come back to you in March, and we'll get something sorted. But the guy that I was working with said, I'm happy to roll with it. Yeah. The other people our partners that are involved are happy to run with it. And then the pandemic struck. I think it was the week commencing I think it was like the first week of March. I think it was like towards the end of February, first week of March, pandemic struck. Everything stopped to a halt. Yeah. I was under that much stress and pressure leading up to that anyway. It was like
just from a perspective of just trying to get this deal across the line.
No money. Yeah. Yeah, my missus is supporting us. She's paying all the bills, and she's, feeding me 20 quid to put fuel in my car at the time. So that was hard, really hard. And then when that hit me again, it was like being in a ring, and like the first one, the Thomas cut was like the right hook, and then like the pandemic was the uppercut that finished me pretty much. Down. And then I end up having, me and my missus was really also going for a tough time through this, because technically she was supporting me. We had friends and family involved in this business and everything else. It was so hard. Yeah. The pressure was so much. It was the week, I got a phone call. I'd been to the doctors. I wasn't great, just with stress, and I wasn't eating and stuff like this, and wasn't sleeping. And I was so worried. I genuinely was looking at bankrupt options, just looking at what do I need to do? Yeah. I got a phone call from the doctors after sending them a sample, and they said it was a Friday, the 13th of March.
Go on, so this is going to be bad news.
And they said to me, we need to admit you into hospital. So pack your bags, you'll be staying overnight. I remember going to the hospital. I couldn't have been any lower, I don't think, in my life. Okay. I felt like my relationship was coming to an end. Yeah. She'd put up with more than enough. I'd lost my business. It was guaranteed. There were 6 cases in Nottingham Hospital at the time. It was not looking to recover. It was getting worse every day. Yeah. So therefore, obviously, everyone wasn't travelling. That business was just going to go under.
Yeah, it's dead.
And that reality of it was hard, really hard. I couldn't have been any lower. Yeah. I'm driving to the hospital. I remember getting there. They thought I had blood coming out of holes it shouldn't have come out of. That was why I went in. Yeah. And now I'm just thinking the worst. It was either a bowel infection or bowel cancer was what they were looking for. I couldn't have, no one could come to see me other than my missus, which I think at the time she was kind of reluctant to, but because she was so probably annoyed with me and everything. And she asked me to stop Like
prior to
after the sort of Thomas Cook thing, it was kind of like, let's not, because obviously every month we're just burning more money.
Why didn't you? Just because did you honestly believe that it was going to...
I just felt like...
Or was it a case of not admitting the truth to yourself?
Yeah, 100%. I was living in denial. Deep
down as an entrepreneurs, you know where things are going, really, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And you know what? You're just hoping. It was like, you're just hoping for the last roll of the dice that's going to come in, shall we say. Mm-hmm. I was in the hospital and I remember seeing dispensers being brought in rapidly.
Yep.
And I remember asking the lady, about these dispensers, and I spoke to someone that I knew. I said, "Why are you buying? Why are all these dispensers? Oh, we've got to sanitize everything, and everything's got to be. We've got to double it, triple the amount of sanitizing dispensers that are on walls all the way down the corridor. It used to just be as you walked into a ward or something, and now they're everywhere." And I remember making a phone call to a guy that I'd done business with years ago, who I knew had some good contacts in China, and I said, I want to do sanitizing dispensers.
So you're in hospital, facing, potentially bad news, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, these guys are putting dispensers up on the wall. I could make something out of this. I'm
thinking, if I don't have a plan for next week when I get out, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
I can't get a job. The pandemic's about to start.
Yeah.
With no one was stopping their bills. It was, and it was either that or
bankruptcy.
We set up a company called Sanitize Now, and it got my juices flowing. And I remember my missus saying to me, "Just so you know, I just want an easy life. I don't want to be with a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
I just want stability."
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, this has to be your last attempt.
Yeah.
If not, promise me you'll go and get a job, or I'm going to leave you.
Okay.
The hardest thing for me was, genuinely, as much as I love her, more than anything in the world, I still couldn't imagine getting a job.
Losing everything. I'm definitely not getting a job. That's
I was thinking, how can I pretend that I've got a job and still have a business on the side?
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Pride?
Pride, and also probably I'd be horrendous to manage, because I don't think I'd listen.
Okay.
You ask my business partners now, they hold on to me tight on the lead.
Okay.
To stop me going off in different directions as it is. So, I probably wouldn't last very long working for someone else.
I'm going to come back to your wife quickly. It's an interesting one. It's not a relationship podcast, but you've spiked my interest, because during my career, I've had several ups and downs, and one particular issue, I was having some other issues outside of business that was sort of affecting me. How important do you think it is to have a partner on your side? Because I hear friends with business and their wife's having you're working too much, or you're not doing this, and sort of maybe I relate it to putting drag in the boat. You're rowing towards where you want to get to, and if you've got someone that's sort of dragging along, it can be difficult, right? So how important do you think it is to have a supportive partner, which you clearly do?
They've got to know from the outset of
what they're getting into,
what your kind of person. Now, I'm very lucky, because when I met my partner,
Laura,
when I met Laura, she was a top salesperson for a very large packaging company.
Okay.
Her friend had got a print company with her husband and a couple of others. And they approached Laura. They kept approaching her, trying to set up a packaging company and tell her to jump ship and come set up a company with us. And Laura's she is a safe girl. She likes her safety nets and everything else. Mm-hmm. And she didn't want to take a risk when she was absolutely smashing it. So I said to her, I think you should do it. Yeah. I ended up doing a negotiation with her best friend for Laura.
Yeah.
I was sat literally on the middle of the stairs, sort of like, well, she was upstairs, and I was going, what do I think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm on the phone, and she's like, in the end, she said, I can't believe I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
and now her and a friend have got a packaging company, which we use at Soap2O, and on track to go within 3.5-4 years. There'll be well over 1 million.
Nice.
And she loves it.
Yeah.
So she's on maternity leave now, and she's still doing emails and stuff. She did the first week she got home.
So she seems to know what you're going through.
Yeah, we both have really different businesses though. Laura doesn't need to go off and stay overnight in London or fly to America or anywhere else like that. So there is still a lot. She's a very driven person, exactly the same like that. We both want the same end goal, which is really important, I think. And when I say that, I think we both just want that sort of comfortability in life, and we both get a buzz. We're both sales at heart, so we understand the addiction of selling. So it definitely helps. I've been with people in the past that I've had people leave me off the back of it. Like relationships in my 20s and stuff like that, and it was like, no, this guy's a bit sort of like, they generally, I think most people think I was just a dreamer, really. Like no one really wants to be with a dreamer. They want to be technically probably with someone who's got their shit together. But and I never have.
But it's them type of people that do big things, isn't it? And I think it's so important. I think it's just a takeaway from me. It just emphasises the point. It sounds having someone there that's, because I've got the same. I'm very fortunate. Sounds like yourself. Having someone there to support you, got your back, that's key. And it gets you through rough times, which you guys seem to have plenty of.
Wow, yeah. I mean, 100%. I to a point, I don't think without her support, I during certain points, I genuinely don't know. I was in a dark place. I don't want to suggest anything, but I was in a dark place, and it was bad. Really bad.
It sounds like, I say she was a good support for you.
And it was kind of my focus. My problem is that I've always had I don't really want for much for myself.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a car that I want in the world.
Okay.
There isn't a type of, I'm just not that kind of like, for me, I want comfortability.
Yeah.
I want to be able to book a holiday and not have to look at the price of it. I want to just look at the hotel and the location. But I want everyone else around me to have everything.
Yeah.
I want Laura to have the best life. I want her to, like my focus isn't for me, it's for other people. So if I didn't have her, what was being my focus? What am I trying to do it for?
Yeah.
My focus was always for a future family that at the time I didn't have. So if I didn't have Laura, there was a lot less chance of me having a family for a while. So it was kind of like, what was my drive? What am I going to get out of bed for if I lose her?
Yeah.
Jumping back to where we were, we had these dispensers, and
so quickly, how did you go in a hospital?
So it was a bowel infection.
Okay.
And I had everything checked on me in every way, and I was there for 5 days.
Okay.
Which probably did me some good actually being in there for quite a while, because do you know what? I slept.
Yeah.
I rested, and I had a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
So
back to the dispensers.
I went for it. So I had this. I had an even bigger thing. It wasn't just a financial thing. I also had that one. If this doesn't work for me, or I get myself out of this financial hole, Laura's going to make me get a job or leave me. So it was kind of
final roll of the dice.
Yeah, and it really felt like a general final roll of the dice, because now it's 3 years ago, March. I think that's right. Was it 19? 4 years ago. 4 years ago, March now.
Yeah.
So it's 2019, wasn't it? The pandemic. And I went for it. I just literally set up a website, set up a thing. We got the dispensers that we wanted to do, and before we ordered them, I had to sell them.
Yeah.
So it was off images, all CAD drawings kind of things.
Yeah.
And they were big, tall ones, the freestanding ones.
Yeah.
We did branding on them, all sorts. And I phoned everyone. And I had a contact of mine who said, it was Gentin's Casinos. And they said, they were desperately trying to
get some,
anything. It was crazy times, wasn't it? So,
of course, yeah.
And they said to me, "Can you guarantee us that they're going to arrive on time before we open?" And I mean, obviously, I said yes.
Could you guarantee it?
I mean, I guess I couldn't guarantee it. But what the information I'd been given from the shipping company said it would land on it was like the shipment would have landed on the 4th of July. So I said yes on behalf of what I'd been told. It wasn't like I was pulling it out of thin air kind of thing. But I don't think anyone could guarantee anything back then, but you did your best. And, but then I said to him, I remember saying, he's probably going to listen, but I think we're good enough friends for him to understand it's cool. But I remember saying to him that I had to obviously pretend that it wasn't my first deal.
Yeah. Done loads of these deals already. Loads of them.
Yeah. Going ever so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. And we're only 3 weeks now, by the way, after me being out of hospital.
Yeah.
And he just said, I need to secure these. I like the look of the ones that you've got. I'll put an order in. And I said, he said, what's the deposit? And I said, look, I've had so many people let me down. Even though they've paid the deposit and then they've not taken them, and I've got all these dispensers and stuff. I mean, I hadn't done a deal yet, but I had to build a bit of confidence in the, in a big company. So I said I need 75%. I needed 75% because I had no money to buy them.
Yeah.
So the business wouldn't have got off the ground. And I'm thinking, I've got to take the risk. And he said, I'll get back to you in a couple of hours. I don't know whether that would be doable, but he didn't call me back for 2 days. Oh. They were the longest 2 days of my life because I didn't really have too much else bubbling up. That was decent. A few people might have took a few hundred here and there, but we still would have been great. But this is £135,000 deal where I'm making 50% margin on.
Nice.
When I'm 2,800 into my overdraft.
In your hole.
And with no money at all. He phoned me and said, we'll go ahead.
Yeah.
We've paid the deposit. And I remember looking at my bank going, it's not there.
Yeah.
I don't know how long this money's supposed to last. I think about 100 grand or something.
Yeah.
And so I still didn't believe it. And then it was in.
Yeah. I
remember walking into I lived in a townhouse, and it was like the living room, dining room, kitchen. And I remember walking into the dining room to Laura and just showing her, because I'd done so much on potential, I'd built up that much. I hadn't really mentioned it to her what I was working on, because every time I told her something big was going to happen, it never did.
Okay.
So I kind of sort of gave up on it. She used to say to me, stop celebrating potential.
It's valid points.
And but I was always dead set it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Which obviously sometimes it doesn't. But then, so I didn't tell her really about this, and I just showed her. I said, £135,000 worth of dispensers sold. Yeah. And she just burst into tears. We were kind of sorted for a while.
Yeah.
And where we were 3.5 weeks ago to where we are now was a very different place. In the end, that company, I worked every hour God's allowed my eyes to stay open for. We always joke because, obviously she comes up a lot in my stories because she's there a lot and been a big part of it. But at one point I had to turn my camera off because I had back-to-back meetings in loads of different countries trying to sell these dispensers. I had to turn my camera off, pretend my camera had broken a little bit so she could put a sandwich in my mouth. It was about 11 o'clock at night. So she was literally feeding me as I was working to keep me going.
Yeah.
And then it was back on again, and I'd carry on. And that company did 1.4 million in 10 months.
Nice.
And technically led into how I am here today.
Your rise, I said this, and I genuinely mean it, has been pretty meteoric in the cleaning and hygiene industry. It seems you come out of nowhere with Soap2O. So tell us a little bit about how that come around.
So I was doing dispensers and they bought refill sanitizing dispensers, and they were foaming and gel. And a Swedish company that I was pitching to, who were going to buy a lot, said, "Can you show us how it foams?"
Yeah.
And I'd ordered some sanitizer, but what had arrived was 2 lots of liquid.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, what am I going to do? Literally, I'd like 4 minutes to this call was about to start, do my demo. I said, let me get it set up, come back, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? It was one of those where I couldn't be bothered to go up the stairs. We had a 3-story townhouse, so I was like, I ain't going all the way up there. So I looked in the kitchen, and there's not many things that you can sort of turn into a foam in a kitchen. And I was like, oh. So I literally just filled the dispenser up with water, and I just squirted in some fairy liquid, some washing up liquid, and give it a shake.
Yeah.
And I clipped it in, went on the call, put my hand underneath it because they were automatic.
God, please, something come out.
Something happened, and it was like a Mr. Whippery ice cream. It was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was thick, it was nice, and they were really impressed. They placed the order, came off that call. I said to Laura, God, there's more than enough to wash your hands with this. And she kept putting her hands underneath it. And I was like, well, I did 2 squirts, I said. I wonder if you can get concentrate hand soap. And normally she would roll her eyes at me going, not another business.
Yeah. Oh, here he goes again.
No. And she went, don't know, let me have a look. Both went searching. There was only one company that had done anything similar, and it was called Blue Land.
Okay.
They're an American company. They got backed on Shark Tank.
Yep. And
they were tablets. They did cleaning tablets, hand soap tablets, and they only sold to the B2C.
Yeah.
Looking at they're really cool. They're really nice. But they took it. I got a friend of mine in America who I was selling dispensers to order some, and then they say he sent them to me because you couldn't buy them on Amazon or anything at the time. And sent them over, but they took ages to dissolve.
Right.
It was, which I guess 20, 30 minutes probably or whatever, completely disappeared at home. Yeah. You're not in a mega rush to wash your hands at home. It's like you can make that last. And it then just led me into, I wonder if I can find a company who could make this. This could be quite a cool company. And I searched it, and then just cosmetic manufacturing, and I found, which is now my MD, Jack, who works for a company called Chemlink. He then introduced me to a guy called Kevin Burt. First he introduced me to a guy called Lee, and then he introduced me to Kevin, had a meeting with they've all got chemical businesses together in various different forms, one of them being Solupack.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what I want to do, guys. But I practically said, I've got no money really that I want to throw into this business. I can do about 50 grand.
Yeah.
That was because Laura was like, you're not risking all this.
I'm not
rolling that dice again.
Yeah.
And also I didn't know anything about it. I said, look, this is what I want to do. These are my plans. And they were probably looking at me going, this guy's practically told us he's going to be like Dove in the next 5 years in the concentrate hand soap industry. Mm-hmm. Everyone looks at me a little bit gone out, to be fair. And so I gave them some equity. We did our deal, and they said they'll make it for me.
Yeah. So for the viewers, Soap2O is what? Tell us.
It's a highly concentrated powdered sachet hand soap where you just add water, and we eliminate single-use plastic, and we don't ship water. You add the water on site. Yeah. So it enables us, instead of you buying a pallet of normal soap, which you can get of 5 litres, or cartridge, you'll get 800 litres on it. We can actually ship 36,000 litres on one pallet.
Yep.
So yeah, it's and our focus is to be the largest concentrate cosmetic business in the world. Yeah, that's my focus.
So you started this. You've got your people on board now.
Yeah.
When was this? What year was this?
We are 2.5 years ago.
Right. Okay.
We've just come out of the 3rd lockdown.
Right. So that time in between, I mentioned earlier, you guys seem to come out of nowhere. And I've been watching very, very keenly. Fill in those 2 years.
For me, the one thing I've always said, I followed. If you want a successful company, you got to follow that. You got to take a little bit of what other successful businesses have done.
Leaves clues, right?
There's 2 companies that I've really focused on, and you're wearing one of them today. Like I could ask you a question: why do you wear Gymshark when there was Nike, Under Armour, all these other big brands, Adidas, etc., that do really good fitness clothing? Yeah. Why are you wearing Gymshark?
I just like their story. I like the founder's story and everything behind that.
Yeah, and you buy into it. So
I'm waiting for a sponsor, to be honest, because I've always got Gymshark stuff on in all of our videos. But,
to get Ben on the phone.
Hit me up, Ben. No.
And so for me, it was that story. I think what Gymshark, Brewdog, those kind of stories for me, the focus bit for me wasn't about which is probably wrong, wasn't about creating the best hand soap in the world, because technically hand soap's hand soap.
Yeah.
I wanted to create a brand. And I think to create a really good brand, you've got to create a community around it.
Yeah.
And when you create that community, is how do you do it? And I think people have got to buy into your story. So I didn't really spend a huge amount of time out there selling the product. I went to every networking meeting. You ask anyone in this industry, for like 18 months, I went to everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know the difference between a cleaning contractor, an FM company, a distributor, or a washroom service company. In my head, it was like, so you're a washroom service company. So you go into a washroom and empty the sanitary bins and do a few other bits. Why don't you clean it while you're there?
Yeah.
Well, that's what the cleaning company does.
Someone else does that.
All right. Who am I selling this to?
Yeah.
Well, who do you buy from? Well, we can buy from you. Okay. But we buy through a distribution network. Yeah. And it was learning. I was like, then I set up a distributor, and I started like taking on a few distributors with the product. And then they found out, and I said, I'm not going to sell to anyone but distributors. And then I was like, next thing you know, I was sat with Dominic from Cleanology. It was one of my first meetings, actually. And I was doing a deal with him. And I walked out and someone said to me, so you're not selling just through a distribution network, because he's a cleaning
contractor.
Contract cleaner. I was like, oh shit, I need to so I ring Dominic saying, sorry, I can't actually sell to you. Sorry, I have to have a massive pitch and just doing that deal, and I have to cancel that. You need to buy through, a distributor. And I just went to everything. I went to the boats, I went to the networking meetings, I went to anything with Lawrence Allen with the Twin FM, and I went everywhere, and I just absorbed. I just said to everyone, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. Who do I speak to? Where do I go? And who's the best? And then I was speaking to, at the start, I had always been very, very good friends from the pandemic days, because they were at my master distributors with Killis.
Yes.
So Tibor, always on the top of it, innovation. Yep. He wants the piece of everything. He wants to be the first for everything that happens. He was giving me advice on, how to price it, how to do sub-distributors and stuff like that. So I took his advice. And I think the key thing I did, I just kept asking.
Yeah.
Ross Osborne, Ollie at Source, those people at the early adapters, but they were not just early adapters, they were like guidance for me. Yeah. Phil Smith, massive help for me.
Great guy. First time I met him yesterday, time. Lovely guy.
I remember saying to Phil about this Hill Club, and I just said, this is what I'm going to do. It wasn't really sort of like, I didn't really tell people this is what I'm trying to achieve. I was telling people this is what I'm going to achieve. Can you help me do it?
Yeah.
Who do I speak to? What do I do? And I think it was taking time to build those relationships. I've probably spent more time, money, and everything so far, even to date on this business, purely on building relationships, because I think you've got to get people who've got to buy into what your vision is, and what your journey is, and how you want to do it. I never look with nobody else doing it. That's I had a bit of a free run of it, really.
You, throughout your entire career, not even just clean and hygiene, you seem to be very good at building relationships with people. Is that an absolutely fundamental part of what you do?
I would say that is probably the closest job title I could probably have over the years. Is probably relationship director.
Yeah,
would be my probably. best title.
Okay.
And I love it.
Yeah.
But I think it's because
you're good at it.
When you live and breathe it,
yeah.
When you live and breathe your business, you've got to enjoy and build those relationships with people, because they're the people you're going to speak to on a regular basis. They're the people that it's your world, isn't it? It's, outside of your family, it's work.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not a lad. I don't go down the pub on a Friday night with the lads. I've never done a Sunday session watching the football. I don't really follow a football team, if I'm honest with you. I play a bit of tennis at David Lloyd a few times a week, and it's really just to get the endorphins flowing and keep my head focused. I've played golf. I've done 9 holes this whole year.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've played actually for over 12 months. And my golf's drifted a little bit. I lost a bit of interest in it, mainly just down to the time and stuff. And I still love a charity day and stuff like that, but I don't really care what I shoot on that day, if that makes sense. But so I'm not, if I could, I would wake up and work on a Saturday and Sunday, because it's like a hobby.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like it. It's like a hobby. I don't feel that doing Soap2O. Like I can't sleep waiting for Monday, mainly because that's when everyone else works and they can speak to me again, if that makes sense. And my mind just doesn't stop with it. So it's important, I think, when even the people that you've got working, I've got an amazing team. We don't have, for me, I've run this company the way I would want to work for one.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at working for people, so I don't expect anyone else to have to work for me.
Yeah.
In my head, if you choose people right, they should know that if they, we've got Lauren in logistics and operations, but she came with me from my previous business. She came over because she was, she understood the vision and went, oh, look what you've done with Sanitize now, let's see what you can do with this kind of thing. So she jumped ship and came with me. Sophie, she's got a master's in marketing and she's building, her confidence up. She hadn't been on a meeting when I first met her, and now she goes to loads on a weekly basis on her own. Yeah. But she knew that everyone who there at the start, those girls knew what they were doing. They just came to me for reassurance, even though they knew the answer.
Yeah, sure.
So there's no managing. No one asks anyone, can I go to the dentist at 10 o'clock on Tuesday? You know your diary. You tell me whether you can go to the dentist at 10 o'clock on Tuesday and just put it in.
Sure.
So it's a flexible working environment. And then to a point, obviously we got to a point where we were growing so quick that...
How quick? Was it manageable? Was it tough?
Do you know what? It's a difference between whether you're saying financially or whether you're saying opportunities.
Both.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
Is that they are two massively different things. The inquiries that we get in from massive companies are thick and fast.
Yeah.
Why do you think that
is? Why do you think that is?
I genuinely think
branding, marketing.
We've done something different. We've gone out there. I don't think, and anyone in the industry can correct me, but I don't think many people used to go out when they did a deal and used to shake hands with loads of companies, because a lot of people didn't really want everyone to know who they work with. I wanted to tell everyone who I work with. I didn't have any competition, so no one's going to take it off me. Yeah. In my eyes, once you've converted from cartridge to sachet soap, the pricing's massive, and technically, in my head, we had a sales pitch of, you can stay with your current solution and pay more money and keep killing the planet by throwing plastic into the bin and keep shipping water and increasing your CO2, or you can move over to us and save money and save the planet. Yeah. What would you like to do? Yeah. It's quite a difficult no.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially as we've got the added preservatives in there and the ban the bulk fill and all that comes from cartridge companies. They've been doing ban the bulk fill advertising since the 80s. Yeah. I think they use the same flyer. So those dispensers don't exist where they just got the flip cap and they show you an image where someone's watch is in there and watches and wallets are in there and pulling socks out, and this is how bad the bulk fill is now. And it's like they're actually concealed, locked units now that as long as you keep topping our product up, it keeps adding more preservatives to the issue, kind of thing. No one's died from it, if that makes sense. And even though they have these flyers that say, it gives everyone fevers, and if you don't have a cartridge. You could potentially lose all your workforce that year if you keep letting them use bulk fill hand soap, because they'll all be poorly by licking their fingers when they leave the toilet after washing their hands with bulk fill. So I think for us, that's why we've probably grown as well so quick. As much as we stayed focused, we turned down loads of people wanting to white label our product.
Okay.
Which was really hard at the start because people offer you
a lot of money,
MOQs for that, which was great for a growing business. And we turned it down because I was so focused on building a brand. Yeah. That's what my focus is. And it's that brand and everything around the ethics and everything of that brand of, I want people to be proud to have it. Yeah. I want people to be proud to see it on there. We are one of the first where, because we're trying to build a brand, there's not many people that actually have the brand of the soap on front of the dispenser. It's normally the building or the dispenser company. Yep. Not the brand of the soap. Sure. People,
like you got Kimberly Clark or whatever.
One of our distributors had some Brightwell dispensers, non-branded, in there. I'll come back to Brightwell because there is a little good story there, but they sold them, which is great, worked well with the product, but the school then phoned us up. There was 80 dispensers and said, look, we bought into your brand. We've been sold and installed non-branded dispensers. Yeah. Is there any chance you can make us some Soap2O logo stickers that we can put on top of on our dispensers so the staff and the children know which soap we're using?
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Has anyone ever in the industry phoned up and gone, do you mind sending us some Carex stickers because no one knows that we've got Carex in and we'd like them to? Mm-hmm. They haven't, So, and we do things different, We've got handshakes happening outside the O2 arena with them proud to say that they've got Soap2O in there. Yeah. They've never shook anyone's hand to say that they've got Kimberly Clark or Gojo or Carex to go, we've officially got Carex now into our, stadium. Yeah. And then we took it to the next stage. We then went, how can we make that handshake even better? So now we asked people to cut a ribbon. Okay. So we had Rich and Sophie. Rich got, who's recently come on board as head of UK sales. He did a deal with Amazon, all their distribution centres. Rich. And we've now, he's got a picture of Rich. There. We've got Rich and like Amazon and the FM company that we work with on that site, cutting a ribbon to say they officially have Soap2O now in the Amazon distribution centres.
How does that make you feel? Because, like you say, that really, that's a monumental change in, like you say, no one's ever celebrated having Carex or whoever.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's mental. We've got Jeff, my business partner in America, who's cutting. He went, I love the ribbon idea. This is great. We've just got a new account. Next thing you know, he sends us a photo and uploads it. He's cutting a ribbon at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium on the NFL pitch, cutting a ribbon to say they've officially now got Soap2O in that stadium. And it's like, I think that's what makes us different. They would never do that. There's obviously, they want to promote the sustainability side of what they're doing. And I just think sometimes people get caught up in the excitement with you. Yeah. And it's different. Why not? Gives them some great publicity. Everyone that we do, it all goes on LinkedIn and whatever, and we try and build it up as much as we can. And for us, with some of the big accounts that we've got some great ribbon cuttings coming up from all around the world. We're in 9 countries now.
What have been the biggest wins you've had? Is there? I always ask this of guests to come on. Is there a particular moment within Soap2O's journey?
I think when I say biggest wins, you need a few brands on board to build confidence. Mm-hmm. It may not be our biggest account, or one that's probably going to order the most soap, potentially globally once the rest of their sites come. But the biggest turning point for me was building a relationship with pitching and winning TK Maxx in HomeSense. Because it was quite early on, we were only a year and a bit in. Not even that, actually. We were 9 months in September about March, April, into our first year. Yeah. And
that's a big win quick, isn't it?
Massive.
No I imagine
427 stores.
You're not going to get near that quick 9 times out of 10.
They're a 40 billion turnover business with a total of just shy of 5,000 stores within their brands globally. We're already now looking at doing their 300 stores in Europe as well, and potentially the other 4,500 stores in the US. Now we've got a presence there. That was the biggest for us because it was our biggest brand. It then enabled our distribution network to probably potentially live off the back of that. Well, they're in TK Maxx, they're in HomeSense, big brands. They're all starting to look at this soap. You've got to start taking it on board. And it takes you from Jordan with his soap at home that, it takes away from people thinking he's just sat there in his garage or whatever, mixing up his soap and, drying it out and then sending it out in his little sachets. And it now becomes this, you're a soap company. Yeah. You're not an idea. You're not not just selling a little bit so I can make a wage. We're now working with global brands. Yeah. And then the O2 Arena was a big one for us. And they're just, as I say, some of them aren't like the biggest, and we've got on some universities. And it was great because we're now taking on office blocks. This is obviously via our distribution network. Then I think the most surreal moment for me is waking up in the morning. First thing I do, I'm not on Facebook or Instagram or any other social media other than LinkedIn. That's why I'm so annoying on it. Is that first thing I do is look at my LinkedIn. Yeah. That is my thing. I've got to have a look at it. And if I'm going to do a post, it's got to be before 8 o'clock or you won't hear from me because I know that gets the most traction. I looked on it and there was we refreshed it. And I was like, in one day, there was people doing posts on having Soap2O. And I didn't know who they were. I didn't know they had it. Yeah. I wasn't involved in it. And now I'm like, this is amazing. And I was getting messages off people taking photos, like friends that are in bars or restaurants, and they're taking photos with next to Soap2O bottles that are in the brackets or something like that. And it's so surreal because I'm going, this company's growing now without me. Yeah. That's the bit I found like all the other ones I felt like I contributed to. I'd helped with the introduction. I'd gone and done the selling, done the training. I was down at I was doing all the training at TK Maxx. I was down at, leaving the house at 4:30 in the morning to be at like Watford for 7:15 or whatever it was, ready for when the stores open for the cleaners to go in for me to do the training. Now I've got these people that are celebrating the success without me asking them to. They're doing it because they love the product. Yeah. Is it the green aspect you think that everyone's really jumped on? I think it depends on where you are in the world. Okay. I think the sustainability is always at the forefront of our product. Yeah. But obviously to make it sustainable in the way it is and the way it's transported and everything else, it definitely the cost does come into it. I don't think we're in a world yet that we can only buy on sustainability. Sure. Oh yeah. I think there still needs to be a saving. Yeah. Or there still needs to be at least a price match. But I don't think I think definitely the price has helped sort of convert the growth because I think a lot of people we come bear in mind as much as we were unbelievably unsustainable during the pandemic, and we also, loads of companies lost lots of money. Yeah. So now they need to be sustainable and save money. And that's what. And you've got both. You tick both those boxes. So I think that helps. Like you say, the branding element of it, that piece really interests me because people like proactively, again, as you mentioned, without your involvement, are shouting about your brand. Why do you think that is? Is it just the branding, the story, all those combined? I think. Do you know what? I think I hope that people think I'm a nice guy and maybe want to see me with the hours and everything that I put in and the passion I have, hopefully make a success of this. Yeah. I think it helps. I think if I was a dickhead and had a really good, cool brand name, I don't know whether it would work. Yeah. But I also think they know, I don't ask anyone that either works for me or going to help me to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. Sure. And I think you got to lead by that example. Yeah. No one, if people start seeing me, I've been on holiday once since I started this, and I took my laptop and it was in Greece for a wedding. I still worked I would leave Laura and the family by the pool, and I'd go back.
Do your work.
Do cool. I put myself during the hottest part of the day. Pretty much, I was like, I'll go back to the room and work. I did 11 till 2 every day from the hotel room.
Yeah.
And I've only, my next holiday it's still only 1 week, and it's going to be in like, I think end of October, so in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
3 years I've technically, and I've never took a day off in between.
So you think people want to see you win?
I think they know that I don't expect it. I don't expect it to be successful. I will do whatever it takes to make it successful. And I think when I see other people doing that, you want to help them. When you see other people working long hours and stuff like that, you want to see what you can do to support their journey. And I think we're really lucky in this industry, because I've been in many, probably not as in depth as this. There's some really, really nice people in this industry. And I think if you're genuine and honest, then people will help you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. And I think people do buy into it. If a competitor comes out, PVA brought out a foaming hand soap, and they obviously do cleaning sachets, and rightly so. Why not add it to their range? I've got a great relationship with them. There's no animosity here. My competition isn't other soap sachets. My competition is cartridge and bulk fill, ready-made soap. It's not them. But I have their distributors that they've had for probably 10 years who sell their product. Even though they do a foaming hand soap, they won't take the PVA foaming hand soap. They want the Soap2O one, the branded one. And theirs is cheaper.
Yeah.
So, but people know that mine's more expensive because I spend all this money on marketing and promoting this brand. Sure. So there has to be a bit of margin in there to spend all this cash.
Make money.
To do it. So I think for me that must be, there's an element of, I think there is an element for me, and which I really appreciate. I think a lot of people do want to see me succeed with this business.
Yeah.
And that's quite hard for me to say out loud because I find it really weird.
I think it's true. I
think it's really uncomfortable. I think I know the answer, but I don't want to say it. Because
I see you yesterday, and we've had a couple of interactions since we've met, which was the cleaning show, the first time face to face. And your personality, your approach, your relationships that you clearly have with many people in the industry stand, from me as a business owner, just looking over at someone else in the business, it's there. You can see you've got that talent and you've got those relationships with the right people within the industry. And I think it's only going to, I don't know, I'm sure other people have told you this, but everyone I've ever spoke to about you, and this is why I wanted to have you on the show today, speaks very, very highly of what you do. And I think for me, I always say this, on the contract cleaning side of things, people go about USPs and things like that. It's all bullshit in my eyes. Yeah. People are buying into me. The relationship they have with me or my team, and probably the same with you, your team, Rich, etc. And you've clearly, throughout all your career that you've mentioned today, you've clearly had that ability to build a good network and relationships with people. I mean, you mentioned several times, I spoke to someone I knew in America or whatever. So you've got those relationships, and I think that's a fundamental part of what we do as entrepreneurs.
It is. I just don't see how else you can do it.
Yeah,
unless you're a B2C product that you just spend loads of money on digital marketing or online marketing or whatever it may be, or influencers, etc. Because I don't think half the people would know who the owners are of the products that they've got in their house. No. B2B is a very different beast.
Yeah.
It really is, especially if you want to be something different. If you look at the brands that we all love, we all know who their founders are.
Yeah.
They're at the forefront of it. And the first person to really do that was Richard Branson.
Yeah. Face of the business.
He's got, what is there? Like, I don't know, something like 100 Virgin companies or something like that. And you wouldn't know the name of any of their CEOs.
Yeah. No.
My point being is, Richard Branson.
Yeah, of course.
And they wouldn't be able to do it without him.
No.
Still today.
No, I think it's
such a powerful, he's a brand on his own.
Yeah.
But the way he's done it is by being disruptive. That's what I love.
Yeah.
Weirdly, when it first came out, Virgin was sexy. It was nice. Mm-hmm. You wanted to tell people you were traveling with Virgin. You wanted to tell people that you did anything with Virgin, because it was like this premium sexy brand kind of thing that you wanted to be involved in. And for me, for me, that was the first one I've always followed. I don't read books. I've only ever read one book.
Yeah.
And it was, screw it, just do it. by Richard Branson.
Yeah, I've read it.
I'm not a book reader, but that was the one that I think it's the only one I own actually. But like that genuinely for me was just, it's that bullshit. It's that let's not sit down here and at the start and just weigh up all of our options and let's just pick away and let's go and get a job and just have a side business for the next 5 years and see what we can do with it. It's like, fuck it, we're either doing it or we're not.
Yeah. And you've got that attitude, I can see.
And I feel that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
I think that's the way you've got to go into it. You can't, there's no time for half-heartedness. There's no time for having a play at a business. You got to be in. You've got to have that. You've got to live, eat, breathe, everything, the whole lot. Or I don't see it being where I want to be. For me, it's not about the turnover. It's about where I want it, where I genuinely want this brand to be in every country. I want everyone to know it. I want to be the Dove and the Carexes that people buy globally and know really well. I want to be that brand at the forefront of concentrate cosmetics.
Yeah. What's in the pipeline for Soap2O? What's coming up? What's the plans? Where are we going, Jordan? Because I'm coming on the journey with you. For me,
the product range that we've got coming.
Yeah.
We've just launched a body wash now.
See that?
What we've got coming in the future, which I can't disclose today, will blow your minds. Will absolutely blow your mind.
I love it.
It'll be here by the end of the year.
Okay.
And I think when that happens, I think that's when people will take their hats off to us and go, they've gotten to another level now.
Yeah.
They're not Jordan running around being excited. They are officially.
They've arrived.
They have arrived in a very, very big way, and they're doing things different. They've rode their wave to where they want to get to, and now they've shown us how good they are at surfing, kind of thing in my head, because that's what we've got, and the people around us of how we've created the future range. I think we will take this next stage of, we haven't just played around with trying to make a concentrate hand soap off the back of some fairy liquid. We're now doing it really, really, really well. And the range for us, our focus for the future, to be honest with you, is probably the hotelier range, the hotel range kind of thing. The hospitality is a big thing. You've got all these miniature bottles that in Europe have got to be gone by the end of 2026.
Okay.
And the rest of the world, I believe will follow. And that's why we started. It was very lucky that my friend and business partner in America, Jeff, lives in California, where we've now got a Soap2O office as well. Okay. But California being the first state to ban single-use plastic.
Yeah.
So they're all on their way.
Got a head start there.
It's a head start, but I think the hotel world, that's a big. There's a huge contribution from the hotel world for this planet.
Yeah.
That, from the water that we leave on, the towels that we get changed, the bed sheets that are changed on a daily basis, the single-use plastic bottles that we get given and thrown away, the bar of soap, if it's a little bit damp in the paper, goes in the bin. The toilet rolls that don't get used to the end, if there's 25% left, let's just throw it out and put a fresh one on, because no one wants a 25% left toilet roll when they walk into a hotel room. Why? I don't know how many times they're wiping their ass for that per se, but you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind if there was only a few pieces of paper left and there's one down the side of it like it is at my house, and just change it on. Like, I'm capable. Yeah. If that works, it saves the planet. I'm sure we're all capable of changing a toilet roll in a hotel room. So that's, for me, is the focus. But for us going forward, we've already got 5 other countries that are inquiring.
I was just going to mention that you're going international now.
Without a doubt. So we're already currently in Slovakia, France, Holland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, USA, Canada, Australia, and now going to South Africa will probably be next.
Back into UAE, as you've got some connections in Dubai?
Yes, 100%. Funny enough, we've literally only just had an inquiry recently.
Oh, really?
For quite a very big company out there who wants to start us off in the Middle East. So that's, literally fresh as of yesterday. So there you go. Yes, you're on track there to head back over there.
Well, if you need anyone to come out there with you. For me, are you going to continue to grow the team? How's that? What's that look?
Yeah, I think We don't. You don't. With an amazing distribution network, we don't need a big team. What we need to make sure is that as the distribution grows, that we've got enough of the. I would just duplicate the people that we've got.
Yeah,
that's all we need to do. Like in the way of we look after all the marketing for every country, so it's all the same.
Yeah,
we do all the distribution. So that's all sorted, logistics and everything else for them. They just have to send it out to their customers. So we manage all that. I do the sales for mainly. I support with growth with all the guys overseas. I've now got Rich to do all the head of UK and make sure they're supported. And as we grow and as they get busier and we get called onto more accounts, yes, we will increase the team and probably have I can't see us growing in the UK any more than probably 2 or 3 people in the next few years. And we could probably quadruple our turnover and only have 4 more people. Yeah. If that.
How do you get, one for me is how do you get your team to understand your vision and be as passionate as they are? Because I've been fortunate enough to meet some of your colleagues, and they've clearly got the same passion that you have. How do you transfer that?
I think there's an element of it's infectious. I don't think I give people an option.
I get that.
I think that, do you know what? I've never let them down, so they've got no reason not to trust me on where it's going. In my head so far. So everything I've promised that I think we're going to do, where I want to be, I've made sure I've delivered.
You've done it.
We've I know I've skipped past it, but we raised investment as well.
It was on my notes.
But so I told them we were going to do that.
Yeah.
And
was that process difficult?
Yeah. Lucky that I've got friends in the city. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say that, I ran round the world trying to find investment. I didn't. I spoke to a friend. No, I didn't. We didn't even crowdfund. I got friends who are part of, not in this type of investment world. Yeah. But they're in, they can definitely advise, and they had a good circle of people to potentially put it in front of. We raised 350,000 in November.
Okay.
At a 6 million valuation.
Nice. And what's that enabled you to do?
Grow. And I mean, people like taking on someone like Rich isn't cheap.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
See. He's worth it though, isn't he?
So, you have to roll the dice on that. Do you know what? 25 grand on the cleaning show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big stand.
Yep.
We're a soap company that sells soap below £1. Yeah. As into our distributors. So you kind of you can imagine we need to sell a lot.
A lot of soap. Yeah. Was it useful for you, the cleaning show?
It was amazing. Yeah. I think there were really strong leads. You know what? We still, that's why we have to do something different at each show, because there is a point where it will just get boring. Yeah. You're the sachet show company. Yeah. What else do you do? Mm. I think some people will get to that point, and I think they're not a million miles off it, and that's why we've had to look at innovation to
something else.
What we do next, because it's kind of can't keep living off that one product. Yeah. It's like Levi's had to do something other than jeans at some
eventually.
point.
Yeah. What's the plans for you personally? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? What's going on? Exit, IPO, or just continue with this massive growth that you're on?
I would, for me personally, a dream for me would be to do something like Gymshark, would be to sell a large percentage of the business, or a decent percentage of the business, to someone like General Electric or Gojo or whatever, or Purell, or someone in the industry, maybe an Ecolab or something, or Unilever, kind of one of those companies that see the value in me, see the value in the business and the brand. That would obviously put a couple of quid in my pocket, hopefully, as well. But then I can continue doing what I would love to be sat here. I just had a son 6.5 weeks.
Congratulations
7 weeks on
to
Saturday.
You and Laura. Yeah.
I'd love his first job at 17 to be at Soap2O.
Yeah. At the California HQ.
Absolutely.
Or Dubai.
Anywhere he wants. And that's, my mum wouldn't say that. She would have him at home. He'll be in the Midlands office, sadly for him. Yeah. But that would be my dream. I would love that. I would love this. I want this business to be here and after I'm dead. Yeah. Genuinely, that would be it. That for me is a legacy. That's the dream. It's not about, I mean, other shareholders and people who are involved, they could, they're in this to support me and to make money. I'm in this. What would you do if someone turns around and gives you £5 million tomorrow, or £10 million tomorrow, or 100 million tomorrow? Do you know what? If you're built the way you're built, you've still got to do something else.
That was going to be one of my closing points. I think no matter what went on, it wouldn't satisfy you. You'd be doing something else thereafter, would you?
I'm not that guy who can wake up and play golf or tennis or something every day. I would.
One of those guys is going to be
Look
working.
where we are yesterday. There's 300 people that I love seeing. I love the day. It's exciting. I love other people's energy, other people's sort of buzz and vibe around what they're doing and stuff like that. All that, I'm lucky I get to do a bit of travel as well with my work as well. So I get to see a few places when I'm working. You stop and you sell the business and I completely walk away and I might have a couple of million in the bank. What do I do on that? If that's on the Friday, what do I do on the Monday? I don't know what the answer is. I've now got, that money's now going to start going down. So I need to do something to top it back up. I've got to start all over again.
Yeah.
Tiring.
And you've done that.
As you can see, I've done that
You've done
9
that
times already.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it again. So for me, whether that way it works out, I don't know, but that would be my dream, is to have someone involved, or whether we do it or whatever. But for me, my intention is to go nowhere for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I think you're clearly on the right path. You've clearly hit a home run with this one after many failures, and people don't see that. They don't understand that. They probably don't, hopefully, they don't know. People were not going to know that. And that's why we do this podcast, just to get them.
Well, I think you can't tell people at the start.
No.
Because before you've actually made a little bit of a successful brand, or people, the perception is very important.
Yeah, of course.
Is how do you tell someone that you were once failed before you've actually succeeded? Because then no one wants to back you.
Yeah. No.
If you know what I mean.
And it gives that perception, doesn't it? Oh, I've had these failures. They think, oh, well, this one's probably going to fail. I'm not maybe going to be invested as this guy as I would if the other way around.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Your story is fantastic. You're a fantastic person. Now, we've met a couple of times and I spoke to you. You're a great guy. The brand is great. Your team is great. And for what it's worth, for what little it's worth, I wish you absolutely every success. It's been great to watch. Me and Adam have been really excited to have you on the podcast. One that I've looked forward to the most, to be honest, although I've pinned you down now eventually. I wish you absolutely every success of it. Where, if the guys want to know more about you and Soap2O, where can they find you guys?
Soap2O.co.uk, or add me on LinkedIn. Yeah. I think I'm pretty easy to find, but Jordan Hurley. Or I think I found out, someone told me yesterday, if you put Jordan and soap into the search, it actually comes up at the top. So
the soap guy. You've
got no reason not to.
Yeah.
And obviously the Soap2O page is on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn as well.
Which we're extremely heavy on that as well.
Yeah, I highly recommend you guys go give Jordan a follow. Definitely check out Soap2O as well, because it's a fantastic product. So that's going to wrap up today. I don't have no more questions. Jordan, thank you for joining me. As always, guys, hit that like and subscribe button for us, and make sure you leave us a review on your favourite podcast platforms, and we will see you in a couple of weeks with another fantastic guest. Jordan, thank you, mate.
Thanks, Chris.
No problems.